So, last year where the past several years where I kept struggling to remember because of ADHD to take my collar off when we were recording.
Oh, yeah.
This year, it's gotten better, where what happens is, once Laura starts the count to sync us up for me to start...
Oh, the 3, 2, 1 clap on the 4th beat, yeah.
That's when I remember to take it off. So every week now is a challenge to, grab it, tear it off, just in time to clap. I didn't manage it this week. I had it in my hand and had to clap. So it was a clap with a little bit of a jingle. Yeah. So a bit of a festive clap.
This is like me on one of the other podcasts who do, Dice Funk, where someone else does the count in for when recording starts, where we on the 4th beat we all click the record button. Usually I say I'm ready for that when I do not have my recording software open or my mouse over the button. And as the countdown happens, I have to... It's a race against time. Will I make it to the button before the countdown finishes?
I feel like that's everybody on that show, though. I feel like everybody has that exact experience except for Austin.
Yeah, until I DM'd half of a season and then I had to be the one who was responsible and wrangling everyone.
Aren't you glad you have a pair of calm, collected, responsible, and professional people that host this podcast with you?
Oh, such serious professionals I host this with.
Yeah.
Couldn't do it without you, though.
ADHD,
the problem, isn't it?
Yeah. We do have a laugh with ADHD, but it is genuinely fucking horrifying. It's a terrifying nightmare. I've described it before as living with a roommate you never see that's gaslighting you constantly. Yeah. I can't trust what 5 minutes ago me did, but I know it did something and it's gonna fuck me. Welcome to Podquisition. I am half blind in one eye. Not genuinely the glasses I'm wearing. I didn't talk last week because some of it was X-rated and some of it was not entirely legal. I talked to you two about last week, but I had a little date that
you did
winded up with sex being had in a forge, and my glasses got scuffed up, and so I went back to my old glasses. I've had migraines all week off the back of that. Just to say that, no one else on the podcast this week has suffered more than I. I believe that I've had the most miserable, most unwell time. How are you, Laura?
I am on day 4 of What's Illness Gonna Do to Me roulette.
Yeah, I did say before we recorded that this could be a game show. Every day you're waking up with a new symptom and having to deal with that.
Yeah, it's that, there's a handful of, base symptoms, and every day, some of them are going to be slid up or down on the degrees. There's a certain number of skill points that are going to get shuffled around. I have a voice today, but anytime I cough, my chest feels brittle and rattly, which isn't fun. So I'm probably not going to be my most talkative today.
That is a shame, and I'm sorry. It's been a week for it, because Z-Manzilla, the editor, co-editor of... I say co-editor, at this point, their work on the Jimquisition it's practically a double act now, in terms of I bring the audio and they bring the visual. And even then, the music videos they've started putting in, fucking hell.
I've warned them about that. I told them they can't do that. The audience will expect it every week. And they're too good. Maintaining that quality standard.
And you've known me for long enough, Conrad. You know how I react to being upstaged for too long. Their days are numbered. No, but Z-Manzilla has just been a tremendous shot in the arm for the show. I'll be the first to admit it. But they've been through the wars this week as well. Their arm's been hurt. So yeah, it's been really shitty all round. But luckily, Podquisition is here, and if there's one thing this show is known for, it is for being 100% optimistic throughout.
It is weird, though. I did make this reflection, because I've been on this show now for over 200 episodes, and I was reflecting last week or the week before how I think when I came onto the show, nobody would have guessed that I would be the most optimistic person on it. and yet the last couple of episodes, we've come away from it, and I've sounded like a pretty hopeful motherfucker.
Yeah. And I've been a bit too doomy on here, and I don't want to be.
Sometimes hope ebbs and flows, you know?
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, we got to get to games because Laura's not well.
Yeah, so I'm gonna talk about some of my stuff quick and probably not in as much depth as I usually would. But I want to start by talking about the a thing I've been playing with this week because I'm ill and on bed rest and couldn't have really asked for a better time for this thing to arrive. I've been playing around with the PlayStation Portal, which is a PS5 remote play device that released last week. So for any of you who have not seen this, it is a PS5 controller ripped in half with a tablet screen in the middle of it. And I have been struggling to work out how I want to talk about this thing, because on paper, there is no reason that this £200 device is strictly necessary in my gaming life, in that I could, in theory, hook up my phone to a controller and stream my games from my PlayStation 5 to my phone over the internet and use like a Bluetooth controller to my phone and play my games that way. And I have done a lot in the past. And if your home network gives you a good or a bad experience doing that, you are going to have a very, very comparable experience with the PlayStation Portal. This is not like the Wii U gamepad was, where it's directly connecting to the console. This is going via your internet router, and depending on how close you are to your Wi-Fi router and what your sort of Wi-Fi strength is like, is going to have an impact on the performance of it. In theory, there's nothing this is doing that you couldn't already do with like a hodgepodge other setup. That being said, for me and my kind of use case, I really like this device, specifically because of the fact, well, a couple of facts. One, I really like that it is a dedicated device, because as much as I can use my phone and like a little Bluetooth controller mount that I put my phone in and stuff like that, I don't like doing that, in that I don't like having my phone that is buzzing with little notifications happening while I'm trying to play games. I don't like if I get a message from someone and I feel the need to respond to it while I'm playing a game remote played to my phone. I'm like, oh, that's two things I'm doing at once. I don't like having to like get this slightly janky setup and fiddle about with it to get it running in the moment I want to play a game. This PlayStation Portal is really nice in that once you've like connected it to your PlayStation, it is very much just, you turn it on, it automatically finds the PlayStation, press a button, it goes. I like that if it loses connection, it sort of will pause your game, even if it's a game that like doesn't technically have pause functionality, until you get your connection back and jump back in. It's all very smooth and swish package. The screen on it is really nice. It is really nice to use your actual console controller for the games that you would be playing. It's not one-to-one a PS5 controller. The analog sticks are a little bit smaller, with a little bit smaller of a travel distance on them. But in practice, having this thing, it's really nice having a dedicated device where it's like, I press the power button, and just within a second or two is like, here's your PS5 on your thing. Performance is going to really, really vary from personal setup to personal setup. I have found it surprisingly easy to forget about the fact I'm playing over a remote play device on this thing. The resolution has stayed pretty solid, not having much in the way of like bitrate artifacting, low latency on the controls. I've been playing Lies of P this week on this thing, and a game that I never got around to finishing, and I got stuck on a couple of bosses. I've been making progress on bosses I was stuck on playing locally. I've been being able to get past over remote play, so like, I've been using it for a week. It feels better than using a phone and a Bluetooth controller. I don't know if it's actually any better, or if it's just more convenient to just not have to fiddle around setting it up and I can just press a button and it's there. As someone that does a lot of like, I want to be watching something on the TV and also playing a game, and that wants the option to be able to like, I'm in the living room with my wife and we're watching a show, but also I kind of want to make some progress on my PlayStation game. It's really nice to have a very premium feeling dedicated device that I just press the button and I'm playing my PlayStation. It's certainly not going to be for everyone, but I'm really digging it.
That last point is a good one to make, because we've talked about ADHD a few moments ago.
Yeah.
And I used to have to fixate on a thing, but over time, I have reached that stage of ADHD where you need like a lot of stimulus.
Yeah.
I often game and have like live streams or podcasts going.
Yeah.
Sometimes I do that though, like I do that with the Steam Deck sometimes. Unless it's a game that's really good at holding a fixated attention, I will often have something just running on the TV just for background noise. I just need to diffuse my brain.
Yeah, and I think, like, you will probably understand the use case I found nicest for this. One of the biggest reasons I don't like using my phone and a Bluetooth controller is that usually I've got something like YouTube on the TV, and I'm using my phone to find stuff to throw to YouTube, and I don't want to have to, like, I'm in the middle of playing my PlayStation game on my phone, but then I need to make my phone also go back to YouTube and change stuff on the TV, and then put it back into remote play on the, like... It's nice to have my phone can be handling what's on the TV, and this is letting me play my PlayStation.
Yeah.
Also, it's got all the fancy, weird controller gimmicks work on this, even over remote play, which is nice. I was playing around with Astro's Playroom and all the, like, stupid little stuff it does with Rumble and the weird fancy triggers. That all works on this, and it's nice that works over remote play. The other nice thing, very quickly, is anytime that games do stuff with, like, the little light bar on the DualSense, where, like, oh, your health is low, it glows red or something. There's a lot more sections of LED light on this for some reason. Like, you've split the PS5 controller in half, and basically down each of the halves, where you've torn it apart, is now an LED strip. So those effects are a lot more visible and noticeable than they are on the one little touchpad strip on the DualSense. And that's kind of nice. It's certainly not for everyone, but if you're someone that does do a lot of, like, second screen gaming and just wants a device where you can just press the power button and your PlayStation is on a handheld and you didn't have to think about it, this is a really nice solution for that.
Yeah. I have been tempted. I love handheld devices. I do have... I would get some use out of it. I think for me, I really struggle with 200 for how situational it is.
Yes.
As much as I am interested in it, I'm struggling to justify biting off on it.
That's the thing. It is pricey for sure. And, like, you can break that price apart a bit and go, like, okay, well, there's basically a DualSense on it. What are they charging for those? Like, 60 quid or whatever. You could do the maths, but I'm like, it's pricey if you're not already someone that, like, knows second screen gaming is a thing you really want to put money into.
Yeah.
For me, it's really working out, but I don't blame any... Like, for most people, I would say, if you're not sure if this is for you, just buy a 20 quid Bluetooth controller that slots around a phone. There are cheaper entry points that will give you a better idea of whether you actually want this.
Mm-hmm.
I have one other thing I want to talk about that I played this week, and to talk about it, I kind of have to talk about a thing I watched this week that I really want to recommend to people. So, the YouTube channel People Make Games posted a video recently called The Games Industry Must Not Stay Silent on Palestine. I don't want to go into huge depth on it, but it is a video in which Tamoor Hussain and Rami Ismail have conversations with each other and with a Palestinian game developer about the current situation living and trying to create games in living in Palestine, and the games industry's silence on the atrocities being done against people living in Palestine right now. And specifically, there is a game developer who is interviewed during the video called, apologies if I butcher the pronunciation here, Rashid Aboueda, who created a game back in 2016 called Liyla and the Shadows of War. It is a 2D side-scrolling platform game on mobile that aesthetically has a lot in common with something like Limbo. It is a silhouettes on silhouettes kind of art style. It is not a particularly lengthy game, but what I will say is striking about this game is that for something published in 2016, it is very, very telling how much of it feels like it could have been published today about the very specific things going on today. It is a story about a person trying to get their wife and child to safety while buildings around them are being bombed in the middle of the night. and there are little, I don't want to say moral choice moments, but little choice moments of, here's a couple of options, what do you do, in amongst the platforming. And those moments and how they reflect on things like, hey, there's a school over there, maybe we should hide over there, maybe that's somewhere safe to hide, and how you interpret, is that a safe place in Palestine for a person to hide from being bombed, is very, very... that game is 7 years old, and it feels like it was made today in many regards. It is well worth checking out. It's maybe 5 or 10 minutes long. It is not a hugely lengthy game, but I really recommend checking that game out, and specifically the video, The Games Industry Must Not Stay Silent on Palestine. Very, very good video, and a game that makes it very clear that the issues going on in Palestine right now are certainly not issues that have only been going on for the past couple of months.
Well, no, I mean...
Yeah.
I believe that's been going on since before even I was born.
Yes.
You know.
It's very specifically shines a good light on that idea of a lot of the things that are happening right now are being justified as self-defense, and it's like, yeah, if these things were only happening in quote-unquote self-defense, they wouldn't have been shone a light on 7 years ago in a completely separate context, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are two things I have played this week. I know that you both had a couple of things you wanted to talk about this week that you thought I might have opinions on. I'm curious, Steph, what your thoughts are this week on Karmazoo, because I started playing that a little this week.
So just before we started recording, actually, I published my review of it. That's on Jimquisition.com. You can read what I thought there. I still absolutely adore it. It's definitely going in, like, the Jimquisition Game of the Year video. Easy. No game has so quickly gotten me into it and convinced me that it's, like, Game of the Year material. I brought this up on the Second Wind podcast that I was on, Windbreakers, which should be available to... you can watch the video version or... And please do, because I had to sit in that corset for 2 fucking hours. So... And I was really annoyed that the camera setup was such that you could barely see it. The amount of times I had to quote-unquote stretch just to show off how, like, devastating I looked. But anyway, I pointed out on there that it is a shame it came out as late as it did, so that it got no consideration for the game adverts, for those that care about those. One thing I said last week that I just want to quickly update is... where I said it was a bit of a shame that the politeness was competitive because you get rewarded karma hearts for every selfless or polite thing you do. One thing I did not spot was that if you complete a loop successfully, if you do all 4 stages and get to the end, all of the hearts you individually earned are pulled together and then everyone gets the total. So there is no contest in that regard.
That was one thing that stood out to me when I was playing it. Though I will say, I still feel, despite the fact that, like, you finish the loop and everyone pulls their hearts together and everyone gets all of the pulled hearts and there's no benefit for the person who collected more, I still feel mildly competitive about it.
Oh, yeah.
I still want to be the one who collects the hearts, though.
Like, I'm someone who, in real life, will have very polite conflicts over who holds open a door. Like, my compulsive politeness, some of which is trauma-born, but, you know. But my compulsive politeness is it definitely, like, surfaces in a somewhat competitive nature, because I want to be helpful. And I want to prove that it doesn't matter to anyone else playing.
Even if everyone's going to get those hearts at the end, I want to see my individual number go up during the run.
Yeah.
Even if it's just going to be thrown in a bucket for everyone to have.
Indeed. But the one thing I will say that runs counter, and I brought this up in the review, is every single one of the characters or bodies that you can inhabit has a set of unique challenges. And they have to be completed in a single loop. Otherwise, they reset. For most of them, it's fine. For some of them, like the turtle, it's like guard against 20 hazards. And because you don't know if you will see more hazards, like if you'll see enough hazards to naturally guard against in a loop. And with the turtle, I felt I had to do this. I held the team up. turtling over and over, grinding protections. And some of them like drop useful tombstones on the spikes. You will want to rush ahead and get there before anyone else, because they might take up the space that you need. And I think what I would rather have had would be for challenges to take longer to beat, because the other extreme is a character you really want might have super easy challenges you do in a loop accidentally without even trying to do them. And both of those extremes would be solved if challenges took longer to beat but carried over from loop to loop.
Yeah.
I think that's the only change I'd make. Otherwise, this game is perfection as far as I'm concerned.
Honestly, yes. As someone who has been ill and on bed rest and not able to communicate with other people, really, this has been the exact level of wholesome game I've needed. Going through your little cooperative experiences, not really able to talk to each other, but just being cute little friends going on adventures, is very good. I unlocked the duck last night, and now all I want to do is play as the duck, and Karmazoo's great.
The duck as well, like, because I think that costs the most to unlock, like 10,000 karma hearts or something, but it's so
It was a
useful.
pricey early one, but it was the first thing I bought.
And it's worth it.
I did like 5 or 6 runs just to get the duck, and I was like, totally worth it.
There are some bodies that have the same function that work better than others. Like the bell can shatter glass 360 degrees, whereas the elephant has to charge into it from a flat plane, and the elephant is just shit as a result. I think the duck's the only one that does its skill where it throws out a musical note that takes ages to dissipate and just activates any musical thing in its wake, which is probably the best skill, depending on the level, because everything's situational. But I am glad. I really thought you would dig it.
Yeah, I've put a couple of hours into it, and I already understand why you've got it in Game of the Year contention. It's really fucking charming.
One other thing I wanted to bring up is last week I said the art style was evocative of an old mobile game I used to play, the Pix the Cat series of games. I saw the cat character for the first time shortly after podcasting, and it's Pix the Cat. So presumably same studio, but certainly like deliberately same art style, because it's got the same cat in it. So I was, as someone who like was super hooked on Pix the Cat back in the day, I was very pleased to see Pix back in this game.
Whoa. Conrad, you had a couple of games you wanted to talk about that you thought I might find interesting before I run away.
I have a few things, but we'll have to save Backpack Hero for another week, because there is just way too much to talk about with that game.
I want to come back to Backpack Hero, but this is not the week for me to dig into that game.
Not the week. Rest assured, I think half of that game is amazing.
Yeah, we'll get into that.
We'll get into that.
Yeah.
But I did have a couple of other things that I wanted to bring up. First of all, this is very light. It's very breezy. I think you in particular, Laura, would really enjoy this. Is just a super chill thing to do that's fun. It's called An Arcade Full of Cats. This is free to play. It's on Steam. And it is just a hidden object game.
Oh.
You have a pair of time-traveling cats dressed as Doc and Marty in a DeLorean, traveling from the present back through the history of video game arcades in 5-year slices. So you have 1980s, 1985, 1990, 1995, and 2000. And each of these depicts a cat-influenced arcade that is period appropriate, that is full of cats that you have to click and find.
I love this so much.
It is so nice, so just incredibly fun and relaxing. It provides a hint system to where, you know, you can click a little magnifying glass and it'll point you to a cat and then, you know, give it some time to refill so you can try to look around and find the ones you're missing a little longer. So it's very, very chill about that. Every stage also has a coin hidden in it that activates one of the arcade machines.
Ooh.
Which then has its own hidden object puzzle in it. the games are all cat puns and themes.
I'm looking at screenshots. Not only does this look charming, I'm seeing screenshots of a giant celestial cat just giving surreal quotes.
Yep.
In space, and I'm in love with this. This looks wonderful.
It is a delight. I played it on stream this week, and I thought Laura's going to love this. So, yeah, you should check that out. And it's free. It's being supported by DLC that has some wackier locations, but...
This is exactly the level of brain I have right now. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. And then the other thing that I played that I thought you would want to be somewhat conscious of. I don't know if I want to encourage anyone to play it. It's called FlipWitch. Now, I didn't include the full title because that would have given away the game. It's called FlipWitch: The Forbidden Sex Hex.
Right. Sorry. Let me just.
Yeah, I'm
sit cross-legged on the floor for this.
Yeah. So, FlipWitch: The Forbidden Sex Hex is a 2D Metroidvania game where you are a witch who acquires a power to swap genders. And it is your job to rescue the kingdom from the Chaos Witch, who has managed to get various other, alignments in place to try and conquer the kingdom. They've got to deal with the goblins, with the demons, and yada, yada, yada. And you have to go find all the keys. And it's a very straightforward Metroidvania.
Those tits are huge.
Right.
The jubblies are in full force.
Are you looking at that boss fight with the big green tits?
Yeah.
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 And then I'm looking at the other boss fight with the big blue tits.
Yeah. There are the tits are in full effect. Everything bounces to just such an absurdly comic degree. The visuals in the gameplay are really pretty good. The animation is there. Like, you set aside the fact that you're just like, gravity functions in a way I do not understand in this place, but other than that, really beautiful.
This is some superb quality pixel art.
I mean,
really
it
is.
looks amazing.
Until you get to the rewards. So the way the game functions, as you travel around trying to find the keys to enter the Chaos Castle and confront the Chaos Witch, you will encounter NPCs that just need a little help in their life. Just like they need something to make their life better, particularly generally someone of a certain gender and career. And so you will find costumes throughout the environment that will make you appear to be like, oh, I don't know, there's a demon lady who needs a farmer to dominate them. And so you will later find a farmer costume for sale, and you will put that on, and the costumes are gendered. So there's no way to mess that up. And then you are treated to a full screen animation in, the style that we're all accustomed to. But the line art is so much worse. Like, it's kind of jarring, the quality difference between the sprite art in the game and the animated drawings that are your rewards for having completed a quest.
Yeah, I noticed the trailer doesn't seem to show that. It's all pixel art.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
why would you do anything other than the pixel art when the pixel art looks this good?
Amazing pixel art.
It's part of it is perspective.
Yeah.
I think that just the zoomed in thing, they're just not getting. I mean, don't get me wrong, things are detailed. Like, there are some veiny schlongs in this game.
Yeah, that I've noticed.
Yeah. But the other thing that is, and the other thing that's disappointing about it is that it is just completely hetero. Just totally hetero throughout. Which feels like a real missed opportunity. You know?
Yeah. It seems like the kind of thing that, like, you would want to have a very, like, gender and sexuality are very fluid, let's have fun with it kind of attitude.
Yeah, that's what I would want, and, you know, I think that sort of speaks to what, you know, probably a developer preference and or an expected audience preference.
It feels like it's more from the, like, fetishized outside view rather than the, like, empowered lived experience perspective, like, perhaps.
When I first heard of it, I'm like, oh, cool, like, sex positive, gender flippy game. But then as you say that, it's like, oh, wait, this is more for salacious reasons, which is fine.
Right.
Like, I'm all for that. But compared to what that premise could promise in terms of, you know, being a very sex and gender positive game, that does feel like a missed opportunity.
And to be clear, like, there is never any, like, judgment or bigotry or hatred directed at the character as a result of this power, despite it being, like, indicated at the beginning of the game that this is a forbidden magic that, you know, is not allowed in the kingdom. Everybody that you meet, you can swap gender in, you know, right in front of them, and the conversation is different, and they will even acknowledge in some cases that they are conscious of the fact that you are presenting a different gender than you were previously, and there's no judgment. Like, it's not weird. They're totally chill with it, but at the same time, then I would kind of hope to see some, you know, diversity in sexuality run through this. So that's kind of disappointing. It does make it a bit fetishistic. But if you want a horny game that plays pretty well, it has some excellent pixel art in the gameplay. You could do worse. It is pretty tough and unforgiving in the combat. I do like about half of the boss encounters. There's some neat stuff there. They do I wouldn't say much with the gender swap mechanic in terms of in-game play. There are some platforming sections where you're going to swap between. And over time, you get all of your sort of standard Metroidvania abilities, your air dash, other stuff like that. I like the game, actually. It's pretty well made.
I checked out some of the reviews, and that's very much the consensus is came for the tits, stayed for the game. Yeah, and I'm always interested in that. You know, because so many sex and porn games are cheaply cobbled together shit. So when a genuinely well-made, well-crafted game also happens to be a porn game and runs the risk, of course, of being dismissed for that reason, I'm always just fascinated by that. I also think Critical Bliss is a really great name for a developer.
Yes.
Happens to be the name of the dev who seems like this is their thing, is surprisingly well-made porn games.
Yep. So that's FlipWitch. It's worth the... God, I can't believe I'm saying this. It's actually kind of worth checking out.
I am intrigued, but I'm glad that I have the caveats of what this actually is.
Yeah.
We've come a long way from Bone Town.
We sure have. Oh my God. Oh God, I will never forget how relentless the rep was for Bone Town. Holy shit. I learned a valuable lesson that trade show.
Right. I'm going to bail here and leave the rest of the episode to you both, but I hope you have a good recording.
Thank you.
Yes. While I go
Thank you
back
for coming
to
on.
lie down for a bit.
So, Steph, what else have you played?
What else have I played? Well, there's been 2 games I played. I'm going to kick off with the one that... Not the good one. Game Mill's back, and worse than ever. We talked at great length, of course, about Rise of Kong, Skull Island. And this past week, Game Mill, the literal Game Mill, has churned out AMC's The Walking Dead Destinies. And I'm not sure. If we take all of the like really like legendarily bad asset flips off the table, I don't know if I've ever played a game where the very first moment the gameplay starts, I burst out laughing. I will say that of AMC's The Walking Dead Destinies. Unlike Kong, I can at least say it's funny bad. To the point where there are things this game does. So, it immediately starts in the hospital. It's based on the TV show, of course. It immediately starts in the hospital with no introductory cutscene. You are just there, stood in the hospital. Doesn't show you getting out the bed or anything. Even that Last Hope, Last of Us, like the game that was called a Last of Us ripoff, that at least showed you waking up. This does not. And I just burst out, like, it's because it's so abrupt. And the graphics, especially with the kind of ruined hospital scenery, immediately made me think of Saw the video game. Not favourably.
I was just thinking of Saw the video game the other day.
Oh.
I watched some YouTube like retrospective on the series, which is actually, I think, the best way to consume the Saw movies from a narrative point of view. Like, I think that is ideal. And but they went to the effort to cover the games also, which I respect a lot. When you know,
I've never played them, but as a Saw fan, I have watched a long play. I watched a long play of the first one recently because I went on a recent rewatch kick leading up to Saw X, which, by the way, they brought it back.
That's what
after
I hear.
The past two films. Like, one of the slowest starts to almost any horror movie ever, for like the first 20 minutes or so. But then I was back. I haven't not since Saw 5 have I burst out laughing. And that, by the way, is my litmus test for a good Saw film, is if I am riotously laughing. And there is a scene involving a colon that
I've heard. Yes, I've heard.
I was in stitches. Just like all Saw films, complete fucking bollocks throughout. But my kind of balls. Like, I was vastly entertained.
Well, this person who did the retrospective, they did it as a result of Saw X having recently come out and wanting to include it and all of that. And so this was fairly recent. And I bring that up because they talked about having to acquire the Saw game in order to play it, which I played and I liked it, just for the record. I thought it was a perfectly fine Silent Hill ripoff. But this person had to spend $60 for a copy of Saw on PlayStation 3.
Fucking hell.
And it was disc only. Like, it wasn't like mint in box or even with manual. It was just the disc. They paid 60 pounds, so they probably paid like $80.
Yeah. This is why I've never played it, because you can't get it digitally. And it's really hard to get a physical copy.
It's wild to me. They didn't even bother with Saw 2 because that one's going for like $90.
That's just mayhem.
The market's just gone off the end. And I saw, and I don't think we have anything on it in our news here. I did see that like collector market for video games is cratering right now.
And good, honestly, because I remember when the older a game and system was, the cheaper it was. Like, that was the rule. But because we all have become, like as a generation, like, such ardent collectors, I've done a video on this, how we ruined them, like, we capitalismed our own, like, hobbies and kind of wrecked it.
We had help.
Well, yeah, like, I don't want to blame it all on us as people.
There was very clearly a grift being performed to rapidly inflate this market.
Yeah.
So that some people could make a lot of money at it. And I think that those people have made their money and don't give a shit anymore. But that's happened with all of these secondary markets. I also think that part of it comes down to print runs. Like, now they've figured out how to calculate how many to print on these a little bit better, and they're not overproducing to some, unnecessary degree. And then less immediately popular games that wind up getting second appraisals and fresh life are just, there's just not that many copies out there.
Yeah.
So anyway, you were saying about...
The Walking Dead. So it is complete garbage. Like, it is very similar to Kong, like minimum viable product. Maybe a little bit more's gone into this one, but it is still visually like so dated. And like that's why I thought of Saw was the way it looks, animates. It reminds me of a 360 era horror game. Loads of glitchy physics and bad animations. The art is hilarious. Rick looks like a child's drawing of Michael Douglas. Looks nothing like Rick Grimes from the show. None of the characters look like the actors. The cutscenes, such as they are, it's almost like they leaned into that meme about Kong Skull Island, where it was just that there was that stand-in JPEG. Like, they're all just the character models awkwardly posed. Like, have you seen those like shitty visual novels where they've taken like stock asset 3D models and just like freeze framed them? It's that. It's that. But they freeze them in like just the funniest facial expressions and whatnot. The game itself is like really it's so like Compay's awful. You have a stamina bar, which is never fun for most games unless they're explicitly built around that as resource management. Whereas here, killing one zombie depletes your stamina to nothing, even if you've like upgraded it. You're constantly getting grabbed. Sometimes commands just don't work. Like, the general idea is you swing once or twice. It seems to be random. A little window, like a brief second window, will flash up like an icon where you can insta-kill the zombie with a knife. And then every now and then your adrenaline will raise and you'll be able to do a finish, which whatever. Sometimes those commands just don't work. That's whether it's in combat, for stealth, or for stomping on zombies' heads. Those commands sometimes will not appear, let alone work. And if a zombie so much as touches you, you get grabbed. And if you're grabbed, just like, it takes only a few moments for you to get like have your health knocked to fuck all. It's not that it's hard though, because the AI is a fucking joke. It's just awkward and stodgy and shit and bad and horrid. It does one interesting thing and one hilariously interesting thing. The one interesting thing it does is, as you progress through the game, you can make choices that decide who lives or who dies, who leaves your party, who doesn't. And only while you have a character alive and in your party can you access upgrades that appear as a result of them. They apply to every character you end up playing throughout the course of the story. But say, for example, Merle, who in the comics and story you leave him handcuffed on a roof, and if you do that, if you follow the plot and leave him handcuffed, his upgrades become unavailable for the game. So, and if you unlock all the upgrades of someone and then they die, you keep them. So it's this weird balancing act of like trying to work out who's going to live and who's going to die. Some of them just pertain to weapons. So if you lose a character without like getting those upgrades, just don't use that weapon. They're liberally spread around enough, and they literally all behave the same. Some are more damaging, but for the most part, you fight the same way, no matter what. Guns are a little bit different. You want to max out the shotgun and the sniper rifle as quickly as possible, because they're the ones that are actually good. The others are pea shooters and shit. So the other thing it does is the Destinies of the title, where you are given binary choices throughout the plot, where you can follow or deviate from the original story. And this game, it's one of the shittest games released this year. Make no mistake of that. However, it has done the single greatest thing anything related to The Walking Dead has done. you can make a choice pretty early on that results in Carl Grimes' death. And considering I used to call the show The Misadventures of a 4-Foot Burden, I have been delighted. You see the funeral and everything in glorious static imagery.
That feels like the sort of thing that was put in specifically for people who could not stand that character.
It gets better.
Oh, good.
So later on, there's another pivotal plot moment where, spoilers for the show and that, I guess, Shane and Rick, who become sort of love rivals and what have you, Shane takes Rick out to kill him, and you can decide who succeeds that encounter. Does Rick survive, or does Shane kill him? The thing is, when you make your choice, and I chose Shane, because I thought, can I wipe out the whole Grimes line? A boss fight happens, and I had a fixed grin on my face as Rick Grimes' health bar fills at the top of the screen, and you both run around like headless chickens, like firing at each other with these shitty like shooting mechanics, and him like flopping about. I just couldn't believe it that they went for a full-on boss fight with a health bar and everything for this pivotal plot, emotional, supposed to be, plot point. Wow. So no matter how bad this game is, and it is bad, and how forgettable this game is, and it will be forgotten, it has made decisions with that IP that have left me reeling. And that at least rescues it from the top spot of shittest game of the year, because otherwise we have another strong contender. We have another game of the same quality of Kong or Gollum or fucking Redfall or what have you. This year has been wild.
What happened to all of these sorts of games getting dropped in the summer when no one's paying attention? Like, has the industry just decided we're just going to put the absolute best and worst of everything into the 3-month period at the end?
Who knows? Who bloody knows? I don't know. I mean, Game Mill especially just seems to be like coming... They've been going a while, but they just seem to have really exploded into prominence recently.
They found their voice.
Yeah. And it's a deafening screech. Yeah, that game is something else. It is equally as bad as Kong, but thanks to the hilariously bad character art and character models and the narrative choice it made, it is at least funny bad, which I couldn't say of Kong. That was just sad. Like, somehow they made a worse Walking Dead game than, I think it was called Survival Instinct, the one, the first-person one that Michael Rooker marketed as Merle and Darrell in a game. What could be better than that? And it turned out most things.
Yeah.
Incredible.
Amazing.
I can't recommend it. Like, don't watch it on YouTube or something. It's worth that for the funny bits, but other than that, like, don't buy it thinking you're gonna have a laugh, right? You'll get the same experience on YouTube in a long play or someone's Let's Play.
Well, this feels like as good a time as any to say I've been playing Quantum Break this week.
I re-downloaded that about 2-3 weeks ago. And then, even though I really like it, for some reason, I've tried more than once to replay it, and I just can't. I'm like, no, this seemed like a good idea, and then I started playing it, and I was like, I want to do something else. How have you been finding it?
Well, it's the only Remedy game I hadn't played. I just somehow didn't give a shit, I think, when it came out. That probably had something to do with the immediate critical reception. And maybe some of the people I was hanging around with, I was, running with a bad crowd. And, I'm a very easily influenced young man, obviously.
Yeah. I was one of the few people who, like, really, really liked it.
Yeah, and I think it might be, in terms of gunplay, Remedy's best work. Like, even now, more so than Control. I don't get on with cover mechanics, but these are unobtrusive.
Yeah.
I don't need to do anything to get in or out of combat, and it's very quick. It's not an inconvenience if I accidentally go into cover in this game, which is often a problem that I have when playing a third-person shooter. The thing that I was stunned by is like the facial designs, the character models and the textures that they have for the faces are fucking incredible.
Yes.
And for, what was this, 2011? 2016.
Okay.
Yeah, 2016.
So, mid-20.
You know how I figured that out before I looked it up?
Yeah.
I had been doing the math on where in the timeline of Alan Wake it would fall. And so it was in my head that it was 7 years before the event.
It feels earlier. It
does.
feels like it came out earlier. Although, interestingly enough, Quantum Break is not considered to take place in the same universe as Alan Wake and Control.
Well, no, and it couldn't. Because the film based on the Alan Wake book Return is already like nearing release as of 2016 in the Quantum Break continuity, because it's there in like the first 10 minutes, a trailer for a movie based on Alan Wake's book Return. Like, they couldn't even stop there, like at that point it was already germinating in their heads. There's an Old Gods of Asgard cover band that you find a poster for in like the opening area. And that's fine. I think that, and I don't care if it's, I already have sort of my issues with how much of Control is in Alan Wake, as opposed to the other way around. I really think Control should have been the umbrella product. And
Control is like Alan Wake 2 is a quasi-sequel to Control in many ways. Like, it
really
becomes a Control game as you go further.
Yeah, and early on, the just the appearances of it sort of filled me with a sense of dread that might be where it's going, and it still feels more like a sequel to Alan Wake than a sequel to Control.
Yeah, but it is drenched in what is colloquially known as continuity porn.
Yes, it is.
And I'm a big fan of continuity porn.
Me too.
Like, I'm a sucker for like when I think like Kane and Lynch got a reference in a Hitman game once. Like, I love little nods, things, and obviously it's been soured a bit by the amount of sort of crossover and
the marvelization of
like
entertainment
universes that have sort of become homogenized in media. But back in the day, I was a huge sucker for continuity nods in other ostensibly separate IP. I loved that stuff.
Yeah. But yeah, I really like the combat in Quantum Break. I think it works pretty well. I was stunned by the character models. Aidan Gillen, who is he's set up as the antagonist at the beginning. I'm sure that will be revealed to be something other than what I'm being told by the game, because it is a Remedy game.
All I can call him is Peter Baelish, because that's all I see. No matter how strong he tries to put on the American accent, all I hear is, I'm Peter Baelish.
Well, he's Mayor Carcetti for me from The Wire. He will always be Carcetti.
I never watched The Wire. I'm one of those people.
I would be interested to see your perspective on The Wire, though, because it is such an American story, and specifically like an East Coast American story. The Wire is, it's like the way that New York is often said to be a character in something that's set in New York, but that's actually kind of like what The Wire is. The Wire is an examination of the drug trade in Baltimore and how various systems within the structures of society in Baltimore are failing in attempts to address it. It's great. Like, it's really, really good, but it's really all about an East Coast American city. And so while there are aspects of it that I think would, be recognizable and understandable, culturally it is so of America and how we approach our problems or fail to approach our problems, that your perspective on it would interest me, having been in both sort of places at varying times. But yeah, Quantum Break, here's the thing that I find frustrating about it. I've finished the first act, and the structural narrative gimmick of this game is that you make decisions at junction points, and then you watch a television episode length video where some of the choices that you have made at this junction are reflected in the direction that that episode of television goes.
Yeah, this was one of the big flagship pushes of the Xbox One at the time, when One was supposed to represent an all-in-one entertainment device. And I still remember that press conference where they pushed TV synergy so hard, and it was so embarrassing.
And I'm not opposed to this. Like conceptually, narratively, I think there are ways to do it. You and I have very different thoughts, I think, on how pacing should be applied or can be applied in games and narratives generally.
Yeah.
And I think that it is achievable to make something that is cross-media and engaging
I'm not saying it
and engrossing. No, I understand
I think
that. But
Microsoft's particular push was particularly embarrassing.
Yeah, I know. I think broadly this was a bad... this just didn't go well. And I think Microsoft thinks that too, because I can't watch the show. I am playing it on Xbox Game Pass on PC. It's just supposed to link to the episodes on Microsoft's servers somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not there.
They're not there.
They're not there. If I want to watch the TV show, I have to go to YouTube and find an upload that I think is going to match the choices that I made. And watch that. And... this is something that I've been bringing up to you a bit recently in regards to other games and so forth, is that the entropy that we are experiencing in video games as time progresses, and, we make them more complex and we introduce new elements, but those elements have dependencies.
Yes.
And, whether that is the availability of other people to play that game.
I mean, that's one of my things that I keep forgetting to bring up when I mention Karmazoo, is there's a shelf life on that. One day that game will not be playable, and that's really sad. And
while Quantum Break is very playable in its current state, it is missing what is purported to be 50% of the experience. There will be people who will argue that point, and fair dues, go right ahead.
But considering what it was, the package it was sold as, it is missing 50% of that package. Absolutely.
Yeah. So, kind of a shame, but I do think the game is pretty well made from what I've played, and I'm looking forward to getting more in to that. But that has represented a bit of a stumbling block for me. The realization that, okay, I'm gonna have to do that thing again in another act, and it definitely took some of the wind out of my sails. It's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Have you played anything else?
I played Dave the Diver. I understand why it's a game of the year for many people.
Yeah.
It is very charming. I recognise it is very good. I'm bored of it already. The loop of it is just not grabbing me. You go underwater, you hunt for fish and other things, then you serve sushi, and you just... So far I've just done that over and over, and it's gotten to the point where sometimes I'm like, I'm going to stop playing because I cannot be bothered to go in the ocean again, or I'm going to stop playing because I cannot be bothered to do the sushi right now. I tend to want to stop playing the game because I have gone through the cycle one too many times and just can't be asked to do it again, which is not a great place to be in when you're playing a game. It is charmingly written, very well made. The gameplay is perfectly good. Although I think, at least on like Switch where I'm playing it, a little bit of aim assist or something when firing the harpoon would be nice, because it is very specific to the point where I have seen the harpoon go through a fish's model, where clearly the hitbox was way more specific than even the size of the fish. And I just can't line them up right, and it gets very frustrating. And it got more enjoyable when I like upgraded the air supply and could stay down longer, and everything didn't constantly feel like a stressful rush. But after doing that, now I'm just finding it a bit tedious. But that is not to say it is bad, and that is not to say that I don't fully understand why people love it so much. But to me, it's just a game where I'm like, yep, it's good, but I would rather play something else most of the time.
Yeah. Well, the only other thing that I played this week is Risk of Rain Returns.
I've been very curious about this.
Yeah. It is Risk of Rain. Have you played Risk of Rain?
We've played it together, in fact.
That's right.
We streamed it, I think, once together. I remember finding it sometimes frustrating, but generally enjoyed it. Then I found Risk of Rain 2 disappointing, not because it's a bad game per se, but I found it impenetrable. I found it so hard and so unfun as a result.
I had relatively little success playing Risk of Rain 2, which is, for a roguelike unlike me. It's not that oh my gosh, I'm so good at them, but they play to my strengths in terms of patience and so forth.
Yeah, I'm glad to know it wasn't just me, because it was always when I got to the final sort of bit of that first stage, like the final wave thing, and I'm like, no, there's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide, nowhere to get bearings. I'm just overwhelmed and I'm not having fun.
Yeah, I didn't get on with it as well as I did the first one. And I kind of suspected that would be the case when it went to the first-person perspective. There's nothing wrong with it. And mechanically, like, they very effectively translated basically every game element that existed in Risk of Rain into a 3D game. And damn if that's not impressive as hell. I don't want to play that, but I am thoroughly impressed at how accomplished that was. Like, that goal was hit. So, Risk of Rain Returns is the original Risk of Rain, but beautiful. And I liked the minimalist art style in the first one a lot. This gives you a more detailed enhancement of those graphics, but it still feels right of the same style. Right. It's just added a little bit of depth and complexity in, which makes everything a little more identifiable too, which is great. Otherwise, it's the same fucking game. I think they've added some new challenges to unlock and so forth with specific configurations you'll have to play with and yada yada yada. But otherwise, it's just a very pretty, just as playable Risk of Rain.
Hell, if they can remaster The Last of Us Part 2 all fucking ready, then Risk of Rain's perfectly valid.
Well, it's been more than 10 years.
Yeah.
Like, when did Risk of Rain come out?
I think I was still in Mississippi, at least.
Oh, for sure. 2013.
Yeah. 2013.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's been a decade. I have not reached a point yet where I would have experienced the kind of slowdown that became normal in Risk of Rain 1 on runs. Like, it does reach a point, and, you know, it was made with Game Maker. So, yeah, there's going to be a limit on what that engine is capable of as compared to a lot of others.
Yeah.
It feels very smooth. Yeah, I like it. Let's see, the top Reddit discussion on my search here says Risk of Rain Returns is literally unplayable. I don't agree with that person's opinion.
Literally unplayable.
Literally unplayable. Well, it was from 2 weeks ago. Maybe there was something changed in an update, but I doubt it. But yes, really like what they've done with it. Yeah,
Got me
it's
curious. Good. Very positive on Steam reviews. Like, because normally if there was like some shitty launch, you'd see you'd see all reviews.
Yeah.
And then how is it they present it? They usually give you like a snapshot of where the score was versus like where it is now.
Right.
And there's only one, just consistently very positive across like over 14,000 reviews. So maybe it was just one person just unhappy with it.
I'm happy. I'm happy with it.
I think it's good. Pick it up.
Yeah. But that's all I've played this week. Have you played anything else?
That's all. Yeah, that's all it is for me too.
All right. Well, we do have some newsy bits that Laura very graciously supplied to us to look at. And I gotta be honest, none of it's great news. Probably the most positive thing, there was a case that a couple of employees of Niantic brought back in July, claiming sexual bias in raises. And there's been some progress on that. This week, a court in Los Angeles has ruled that the case actually can proceed. Niantic was trying to get around a recent law that makes forced individual arbitration agreements invalid in California.
Oh, really?
As they were claiming that the law didn't really mean what, what it said it meant, and judge shut that down. Yeah. So that's going to move forward. Though. Yeah.
Like, everything I've heard from people who work at Niantic, and people have reached out over the years, like, it's shitty management over there. They don't listen to their staff. They do things like what this case is going ahead with, like sexual bias and stuff like that. It's led by buffoons. That's the general impression I get from like people on the ground at Niantic. It is managed by buffoons.
I can see that. It's and buffoons who have seemingly stumbled into something with a tremendous profit potential.
Oh yeah, I mean, like as always, the success of a company is it's down to the people that actually did the work, which is very rarely management.
Almost never. Almost never. Epic has recently implemented their age rating system for all their little cosmetics and whatnot.
Yeah, this was almost a Jimquisition.
Oh, really?
It was almost a Jimquisition. Not because this particular case was a massive extreme example of the fear that people had, but it did bring it up, which is this idea of these people bought their cosmetics in good faith, whether you agree with them doing it or not, and then having limits put on it like ages after the fact, essentially reducing the functionality of what they bought, and I do believe cosmetics serve functions. That throws up issues of ownership and like the usual issues that we have with the ownership of digital content, but really throws open the potential pitfalls of trusting that the money you spend on a game is going to last, is going to be worth it, is going to result in a product that you could even use, let alone use to its full effect. That's the part of it that fascinated me and almost made it a video because, I think there was a valid point to be made in suddenly they're restricting the appearance, as was the original announcement, restricting the appearance of cosmetics and reverting you to default ones depending on where you go. And one thing Epic did that always annoys me was when they were like, less than however many percent, I think it was like a single-digit percent, like, we'll go with 6. Oh, this affects less than 6% of the cosmetics. And as I've always said, like, when companies do this, the small percentage of people affected does not make it okay. It does not make it better.
Yeah.
That only 6% of people who spent money on your game have been told that their purchase will not be reflected depending on where they play or how they play.
Yeah, it's one thing if these sorts of limitations are introduced at the point of sale.
Yeah.
The problem comes in when you change what the terms are. And I feel like the better approach here, if you wanted to make a kid-safe Fortnite, is to just make a separate product that you can connect in with your whole product ecosystem and, you know, make cosmetics available within that and, you know, exploit FOMO and the inability of children with not fully formed brains to make decisions based on impulse. You know, you can still do all of those things without affecting your existing product line.
Yeah.
And for some reason, they chose to instead layer this over the entire product line.
Because it's led by buffoons.
Yeah. You know, and it might, I'm sure they had a reason for it. I mean, they're saying that it's going to take them 12 months to sort out the 7% of outfits in Fortnite that are currently limited to a teen-rated island.
Yeah, because they are modifying them so they can be used, which throws up the other point that we're seeing in so much media, which is a new type of homogenization, where everything is made as family-friendly as possible, as territory-friendly as possible, which has led to things like queer representation in mainstream media, minimizing, sometimes to lows that we've never seen before, while they queer bait and say, oh, look at us, the first whatever character in a Star Wars film. And then it's two girls kissing in the background because that can be cut for certain markets.
And it's not limited strictly to, you know, queer representation
Not at all,
either.
yeah.
I mean, heterosexual representation in this respect has it's like we don't have genitals in mainstream films anymore. Like, I don't know what happened. It's weird and deeply uncomfortable that like sex is just being wiped out of art in some very strange ways.
It's why I'm so happy to see a film like Sorax, where you can have things like that colon scene, which, another thing that needs to be pointed out, like, this speaks to what I've said for years, that corporations don't want money, they want all of the money. Saw used to release every Halloween.
Yeah.
Because even though it was a horror film, and many Hollywood execs don't like horror because it's niche, they released every Halloween because they were fucking earners. They made money. But we don't get many R-rated movies anymore because they want to market them in every territory, to every demographic, every age group, as much as possible, until, say, something like Deadpool comes out and they learn the wrong message from it, which is not, this film did well because it's rated R. It was, this film did well because it's what people wanted. And then we have this cynical burst of hurried together R-rated content that flops, and then they go back to the mass market shit. I am so saddened by media. Just the world of media now. Yep.
It's deeply unfortunate.
Yeah, there's a great... I know you'll have seen it too. A great episode of Some More News that talks about why films in particular are shit like these days, and goes into the despair that is Hollywood right now, like the despairing situation between AI, the push for cheap CG and the crunch that puts on the animators, the amount of money, of course, the execs make. Like, it's as bad, if not worse now than video games.
And hopefully we will see an animator strike soon.
I'd love that.
That is, I feel like that is very, very close to happening.
It needs to happen.
Almost everybody else has at this point, and boy, we have reached a point where they have, like, special effects workers have so much power. Animators digital artists have so much power that they could wield over this industry.
Yeah, they have to realize it, and they have to do it in unison, because right now they can't access that power because they're treated as disposable. There are outlets that will produce shit cheap for them.
And one of the very reasons they have that power is because their labor isn't unionized. And the industry has put so much faith and have put so much weight on the existence of visual artists and digital artists in this industry and animators by integrating them into everything that is made, that there will be almost no films that can be made without them. And those that will probably have people fucking in them. So it's a win-win for us.
Oh, God, you just know that Tom Savini's, like, looking at his phone, like, any fucking day now, and I'm back, baby. Brilliant guy, by the way. I fucking love Tom Savini. Like, his special effects, fantastic. The small film roles he's had.
Yeah.
Tom Savini with the mustache comb in fucking Dawn of the Dead.
Yes.
So good.
So
fucking
good.
Sex Machine in Dusk Till Dawn.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking, I love Tom Savini so much.
He's fantastic. Okay, we have a couple more stories. Seems like Unity is announcing more of its big push on AI. They have an early access release for a tool set that they're calling Muse. And the first 3 tools have a chat-based search function to find resources and code within Unity's library. And then they have a 2D sprite generator and a texture generator. They plan to include tools for animations, character interactions, and a prototyping system. And Unity 6, out next year, is going to include a system to embed an AI model within the runtime. So they are making it available, and hopefully people who use Unity don't use it. But I think it will be, if they can keep it accessible the way they did the engine. If the runtime fee thing might have really fucked them in this respect, because they could have carried on bringing people into the walled garden with this AI nonsense for a while.
Yeah.
But now they aren't an attractive platform, and this isn't going to change anybody's mind, I don't think. So, good luck with that.
Yeah. I mean, my thoughts on AI are well known. Mm-hmm. It's another area where I am just sad, and as someone who is increasing the amount of writing that they're doing and seeing writing AI coming in, somewhat worried, mostly offended. Mm-hmm. At just, once again, this belief by the corpo class that they can take the artist out of the art. It disgusts me, as it did with NFTs, which was the same grift. I've made that point, but it's the same grift. It is taking artists out of the art, rendering art to nothing but a cheaply produced commodity, which, of course, you know, they've wanted that for decades, and much of it has been that. But to automate it to this level now, and to so insultingly treat artists with contempt, which all of these bros do that. Mm-hmm. They did it with NFTs. They do it with AI. They wear it on their sleeve. Like, they tell on themselves so easily when you see these advocates online for AI, and they're the same people that did it for NFTs. Often they frame it through resentment of artists mm-hmm. and this hatred of artists. And they're clearly the people that have tried to pay in exposure for years. They are acting the way incels salivate when they think about sex robots.
Mm-hmm.
They think with AI they've got the artistic equivalent of a sex robot, and they're letting that bitterness. And they're artistic incels, is what they are.
Yeah. I was thinking about it the other day, and there is one usage for AI art tools that I really, really like, and I wish it didn't have to come with all of the other shit. I'm 100% in agreement on generative AI art. Like, there are useful functions for it in terms of if you want to get some ideas for layout or something like that. I can, if it's not a finished product or even going into the product, but like at an inspiration stage, I can see some value in generative AI work there. But subtractive art, that is where I see value, where I can take an image and tell it to remove elements from the image. Not add shit.
Right.
Remove shit. That's the thing that I'm looking at and thinking I would use AI for that. Because I think AI could do it much more efficiently than I can, even though that is a thing that I can do.
I mean, you make the point that the umbrella term of AI is covering a lot of different things.
Yes.
And honestly, a lot of what it's covering, like generative AI, is not actually AI. That's a misnomer. It's an algorithm. As far as I'm concerned, it won't be AI until we've got that...
the AGI,
the green head from Captain Planet on the computer screen.
Right.
As soon as we get the green head from Captain Planet, then I'll call that AI. Until then, it's algorithms. But you're right. Like, I made the point in the first Jimquisition on this. I will be doing another video on AI at some point. I've had very little problem with it as a toy.
Right.
Like the generative stuff. As a toy, you type, random words in and get something funny. It's the sinister motive behind the zealous push for it that disgusts me in particular. But you do make the point that there are benign uses. It's just that's not what's being pushed.
Right. Yeah. Well, it was the same with blockchain. Real estate transactions at the county level. Okay, I could see that being a useful blockchain function. Anything that has a low volume of exchange but needs to have a permanent and accurate record, that can work.
Yeah.
And county level real estate information isn't like fucking medical records. We should know who owns all the property so we can rise as one. And
almost all of the things I criticize that these companies do has at one point had the potential to be something beneficial, but one can never discount capitalism's ability to pervert and twist every idea and turn anything promising into something dystopian.
It's pretty bleak. And speaking of bleak, SEGA has been accused of threatening its unionizing workforce with layoffs. The Communications Workers of America filed a claim on behalf of Aegis, I believe, with the National Labor Relations Board after workers were called into a meeting where they were told the company would offshore their jobs rather than negotiate with the union.
Wow.
Yeah. There's a mass layoff planned. They're expecting to lay off 80 unionized employees. It's about 40% of the group of unionized employees.
Yeah, we're going to see this more. We are going to see this more. I did a video a couple of weeks ago about how the layoffs we're seeing, as bad as they are worse.
Yeah.
Because of the layoffs that get hidden behind, performance firings and things of that nature. All sorts of shady ways. And it's not just games, of course. It's across all industry. There are many ways to get rid of employees, to save money, while making it not look like that's what it is. And we're seeing this is a similar mindset where we are going to get layoffs that will be presented as innocent layoffs that just so happens to involve unionized employees, recently unionized ones at that, in some cases. Someone made the point to me, and I said it in a video as well, with Epic's layoffs a few months back. They offloaded, I think it was Bandcamp, which had unionized. Whether they did it on purpose or not, they got to enjoy the benefit. It was an added benefit of the indulgence that is layoffs. Yeah, I expect we'll see this story more and more, where layoffs happen and it just so happens, in a perfectly plausibly deniable way, to include all of the unionized teams.
Yep, I agree. That's what's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, speaking again of layoffs, Embracer put out its most recent financial report. And they have confirmed that they have laid off about 900 employees in the last quarter, which is 5% of their workforce.
Wild.
Yeah. The CEO described the quarter as, quote, stable.
It is. That's for them, yes. They're having a great time. They rapidly, aggressively expanded, and now they're getting the employees to pay the price. For them, this is just balancing their books. This is stable. This is what stability in our socioeconomic system looks like.
Yep. Their sales increased 13%.
Yeah.
So, I guess fuck all of those people then. That just fuck them. Doesn't matter. Those 900 people, fuck them.
That would be their attitude.
Yeah. And that's it. That's all the news. I'm done. I'm done being bitter and angry. I hope they get what's fucking coming to them. But we should tell people where they can get what's coming to them, specifically Laura's, yours, and my links. Do you remember where everything Laura does is at laurakbuzz.com?
Laura K. Buzz. I believe that is all of her social media, her Patreon, patreon.com/LauraKBuzz, and then at LauraKBuzz everywhere else. I can't remember the exact date, but she does have another book coming soon. Is that Stories of Autistic Joy? She's got so many books that my fucking memory issues, like, can't remember. I know Who Hunts the Whale is out. It's on my shelf behind me.
Yeah, the Stories of Autistic Joy, I know that she did the audiobook for that, and that's
it. Yes, that's what's out. Yeah, that's what's coming out.
Go get that. And you can find me at Conrad Zimmerman on Twitter, Instagram, and Blue Sky. You can hang out with me on Twitch at twitch.tv/thatConradZimmerman. You can buy anti-capitalist propaganda and Jimquisition merchandise at mercenarycreative.com, and everything I do online gets supported through Patreon at patreon.com/fistshark. And you know who else has a Patreon? Why, it's you, Steph.
It is patreon.com/Jimquisition. On the subject of merchandise, if you do go to Mercenary Creative or thejimporium.com, they lead to the same place. We do have the Pounding It shirt that was brought into being by Z Manzilla, who we mentioned earlier, who's, again, just been one of the best decisions I've ever made in terms of contributing to the content. So do check it out. It's a great design. I love that design. I've been asked recently by a couple of people if I'm going to go back to live streaming at Twitch TV/Jim Sterling. I fully intend to. I can't apologize enough. I have been going through a horrible executive dysfunction streak. Like, it's really upsetting. And I'm trying to break out of it. And I do intend to go back. Until then, you can check me out on Second Wind's inaugural podcast, Windbreakers. That should be up on the Second Wind YouTube channel as a VOD of the live broadcast. I'm not sure if it's on audio channels yet, but it will be. Do check that out. It was the first time Yahtzee and I have spoken in like 9 years or so, and it was a lot of fun.
It was.
It was very entertaining, if I do say so myself. It was a lot of fun to be part of. And then finally, my next upcoming wrestling date is November 25th, this Saturday. I'll be back in Leeds, back in Stirling Turf, Left Bank Leeds, which has become more or less Commander Sterling's house. That's where I have my best matches, my best reaction. A match of the year contender, which you can vote for if you go to LGBT in the Ring. If you look them up, look up on their social media, what have you. They've got a link to voting pages. Commander Sterling versus Kid Bandit is up for Queer Match of the Year, and Commander Sterling, myself, I'm up for International Queer Wrestler of the Year. So if you want to go over there and say yes, Commander, please do. It would mean a lot to me, winning either one. I'm hoping for Match of the Year because I'm so proud of what me and Kid did together. But yeah, that's that. And Spectrum Wrestling is due to return on December 17th in near the Blackpool area. We'll hopefully have details, full details on that next week. But it will be in conjunction with PCW's December 17th show. So yeah, that's it. Thank you all so much for listening. I've got to go get ready to get some new glasses. Hopefully ones that won't give me a massive fucking migraine. I will see you next week, as will Conrad, and hopefully Laura will be back in fine form then. Thank you so much. Bye.
Bye.